Hello, Steve White, TREK White 89 for Steve Arts 89. So, one thought that I had during Picard Season 3, Episode 3 was, why do the changelings look like puke? I'm sorry, the original changelings, I loved them. I loved the transition where they basically turned into like a slightly translucent jelly sort of material, and there was something magical about it, like there's almost light inside them. I thought that looked amazing. The initial original sort of CGI wasn't great, but it got better and it looked really interesting. They did eventually get a little bit of a shadow to them. They didn't seem quite as transparent later on, which seemed, I feel like, make them look darker because they were like the villains at that point. But this latest changeling, it just looks like the person just dissolves into like vomit. Like Worf is like holding this guy's head and then he just sort of falls through his fingers, and then you just get this pile of, it looks like intestines that have fallen out. It looks like an actual person that's been liquefied or turned into jelly or something, like not clear jelly, but like, it looks like vomit. It looks like entrails. It looks like a human being with organs has been dissolved in acid. Who the hell made that decision? It looks awful. It looks disgusting. And the changelings were never disgusting. I thought, like I said, they look sort of alien and magical. They were like these translucent sort of beings. I mean, when you look at like glass sculptures, that's a beautiful object. That's sort of what they sort of look like, but in motion. And these, they just look like, they're gross. Why did they do that? And like slimy. I mean, it was like something out of The Thing. And I'm like, why? Why change it? I mean, they went through all this with the Klingons. They changed the Klingons. They argued that it was better and the old ones weren't alien enough and they, it needed to be done, and artistically it just was a great improvement and all this stuff. And then people went, no. And they turned around and gave them hair, and people still said no. And then they went back and they made Worf look like a Klingon. He was the only Klingon seen in Picard, and he looked like a traditional Klingon. And now he's actually appeared in Picard, and he's in his traditional makeup as he was. And I think they're just not going to explain it. They're just going to pretend like it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, well, why did you not learn from this? Why did you not keep the, sorry for my stomach, it's rumbling. Why did you not keep the changelings the same? Why would you change their makeup and think that would be a good idea? These aliens are established. That's what they are. You can't change that and have people not notice or not react to it. I mean, it wasn't a huge thing in the moment, because I was more caught up on the fact that they were turning what seemed to be a next generation, continuation of the next generation via a, miniseries style final movie. And now we seem to be getting Deep Space Nine Season 8, where it's just like a continuation of the Changeling Wars, like the Dominion War, like nothing happened 20 years later and we're still fighting the Changelings. It's like they just want to keep us in the past, I think. So I was very optimistic about Picard Season 3. But I've gotten to this third episode, I'm like, if this is what the whole story is and where we're going, then it's a dead end that just ends in Deep Space Nine, which is the least Star Trek of Star Trek shows. Which would explain why Robert Meyer Burnett actually loves it so much, because he was the big champion of the show, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he also thinks Star Trek the Motion Picture is the greatest film. So, and thinks it's amazing. He gets that. So I don't know how he gets that, but he doesn't get the Deep Space Nine is not Star Trek. How can you get the most Star Trek of Star Treks, which is the motion picture, but still think that Deep Space Nine is Star Trek? It's full of war and religion and immorality and all these things that were established in Star Trek, in Gene Roddenberry's utopian sort of version of humanity and Starfleet and everything, that we'd gotten past that, and now we were travelling out into space without that baggage and just dealing with other people's baggage, basically. But now it's like, well, we need our own baggage, because people can't relate to, evolving and being like a perfect sort of version of ourselves. We had to drag us back down to today so people could relate to it, because apparently they want those people to watch the show, but a lot of those people don't care anyway. And they certainly don't become super fans and buy a lot of merch. So I don't understand why they changed the Changelings. I thought they'd learned from Discovery that you don't change how aliens look. I mean, look at the Talosians. Those are not the Talosians. And how Anson Mount, who's a Star Trek fan, could stand across from these guys in this different makeup and act as though they were Talosians, I don't understand. But yes, so why did you make the changelings look like vomit and dissolved humans, dissolved organs? Like, they shouldn't look like that. They should look like they did in all of Deep Space Nine. And yeah, why are you making Picard into the least Star Trek of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is all about war and darkness, and which explains why they didn't change the lighting, because it's just like Deep Space Nine now. So yeah, I don't know. Trying to be optimistic for the next episode, and hopefully this is just a bit of a nod to Deep Space Nine and not actually the whole direction of the series itself. But we'll see. I'm gonna go.